Today we're in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, stepping inside the charming home of interior designer and antique dealer Logan Taylor. Her family home is a soothing blend of soft hues, thrifted treasures, and Facebook Marketplace finds. Every piece tells a story with portraits and objects that carry a rich sense of history.
I think Archibald, this painting, is really the main feature of this space. I found him from a local auction for next to nothing, and I just felt like he looked like an Archibald, so that's what I named him.
Bespoke Textiles also play a key role in Logan's home as she crafts custom pieces that bring personality and layers to each room.
I like to change things up quite frequently, so being able to sew and make my own pillows and lampshades are a good way to give things just a fresh feel without having to spend a ton of money.
Logan's home is a beautiful reminder that style and storytelling go hand in hand. To watch Logan's full episode ad-free, be sure to scan the QR code on screen or click the join button below.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Logan Taylor. Welcome to our home in Virginia. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and we take you inside the world's most beautifully decorated homes and introduce you to the brilliant people who live there.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Liz Lang. Welcome to Grey Gardens.
Click the join button below to access all of our latest episodes ad-free and watch extended cuts of this and other homes, opening the doors to new rooms and exclusive content featuring our beloved hosts.
I can't wait to see, I'm so excited.
And if you're looking to shop items inspired by this and other Homeworthy tastemakers, be sure to use the product links below or scan the QR code on screen to find fabulous furniture, coffee table books, and accessories that can transform your house into a home.
Hi, I'm Logan Taylor. I'm an antique dealer and interior designer in the Shenandoah Valley, and welcome to my home. When we found this house, we had been living in our first home that we bought together after we got married, which was a very small 1,200 square foot townhome. And we had toured several different houses that were in our budget, but nothing just felt quite right. But as soon as we stepped foot on this property, I had this gut feeling and I knew, and I told my husband, this is our house. It was pretty dated and rough when we bought it, as you'll see in the before pictures, but I had a vision and I knew that it could be very, very charming and quaint in the hands of the right people. So one of the first things we did after moving in was retrimming and just painting the whole entire house. Now, I have had the house repainted and repainted since that first repainting, but I will say that is the number one thing that you can do to completely transform a space, make it start to feel like your own. We've been in this house for 5 years, so my style has made a complete evolution from where it was when we first got the house, in a good way. I've grown, we were pretty young, so. But even still, there are, different things and elements that have stuck with me and been a part of me since the beginning of me transforming this house. My home style is pretty traditional, but I love adding little bits of whimsy into every room, something unexpected. I'm very, very influenced by English and British interior design. I love to keep the color palette of my home pretty subdued and pretty earthy, but have lots of visual interests with antique paintings, antique furniture, and modern textiles to just help all of the antiques in my house feel really fresh. So welcome to our playroom / mudroom. This is the first room you enter as you walk in the front door of our house. It's a dual purpose room. So on this side is the mudroom side, where I have an antique bench so we can put on our shoes, a table that's kind of a drop zone. So I love the idea of just a big table in any kind of entryway. I love big round ones. I found this one on Marketplace for $20 and I painted it with just some extra paint I had left over. I love having just a voluminous vase of flowers on it and some books. Just a couple, I'm still kind of looking for the perfect chairs for this table. Until then, I found these mixed-matched antique chairs from an auction. I think I got them for maybe $5 a piece. All of the drapery in here I made myself out of gingham from Chelsea Textiles. As you'll see throughout the whole house, I have a lot of Chelsea Textiles. I feel like every designer has their one, textile company that they just gravitate towards, and Chelsea Textiles is mine. So I put some antique brass hooks on the wall so we could hang our bags and our coats, keep a basket of shoes. This buffet I found on Marketplace as well, and I painted it. I have a method of painting and antiquing furniture that I have come up with that is just absolutely perfect. I feel like you kind of can't tell sometimes if something was done by me or time, and that's how I like it. I've painted a lot of furniture in my house bone by Farrow and Ball. It is the perfect color to paint furniture. It's not quite gray, it's not quite beige, it's just the perfect in between, and it goes with every single room that I put a piece in. And so yeah, I had my handyman help me make this lamp out of a huge antique bottle, and just some pictures, kind of just a nice space to where we can, another just drop zone, where if we have keys or sunglasses or something, we can put them there. But we've got some pictures, and it's kind of the first thing you see when you walk into the house, and it kind of sets the tone of the space. I have lots of antique bird engravings throughout this whole entire room, so I kind of just decided to go with it for above the paneling up here. The walls are painted Farrow and Ball white tie. It is a perfect warm white, and this part of the house was added on to the original house. So these windows were just the old metal windows that were kind of exterior windows, and I hated them, but I didn't want to spend the money to replace them. So I was like, well, let's just paint them a really pretty color and instead just make them kind of a feature instead of loathing them. So all of the windows and the trim and the doors in here are painted French gray by Farrow and Ball. And it's just a perfect dusky green, and it just goes with everything. So now we can step over to the playroom portion of this room. I'm actually very thankful that the previous owners added this onto the house, because we use this space so much. And this is just where we are every day. It is absolutely destroyed every day as well. But in here, I've just layered a bunch of sisal rugs. And I will say, if you have children, sisal rugs are the way to go. They're extremely heavy duty. And just to add some character and some, softness, I find antique rugs on Etsy or auctions and just layer them on top. And they're just so easy to clean. I think one of the main features of this space is this huge pine cabinet. I actually just acquired this from a local auction for $6. No one fought me over it. But it is the perfect place to hide a bunch of toys and keep them out of eyesight to kind of keep the aesthetic of the room going. But we've got the little kitchen. This is an antique flower bin that someone actually gifted me. And we keep our cat food, our coals for our grill and everything in here, just keep it all tucked away. And I love when people hang a bunch of straw hats on a wall and kind of make it a feature. So that's what I decided to do. It felt very mudroom appropriate. So I have a bunch of straw hats I've just acquired from different places and decided to kind of pile them around this antique engraving. And I just love the whole look of it. This day bed I actually got on Facebook Marketplace as well. And I painted it again in Farrow and Ball Bone, favorite color, and just decided to do some pillows from Les Indiennes, Rose Tarlow, and then a cute little needlepoint pillow from one of my Instagram friends. So the light fixtures in here are actually very inexpensive lanterns that I got from Lowe's. They were about $100 a piece, and I painted them and distressed them to make them look exactly like I wanted. We have kind of low ceilings in here, so I couldn't find exactly what I wanted in the perfect price point. Everything was trending towards $1,000. So I found these, and I've painted several light fixtures in my house. It's one of my favorite things to do to get a really custom look. And so these are definitely one feature of the mudroom that I love. And then over here we just have my girls' books, some basket of toys, their little chalkboard. I wanted this just to feel really playful and whimsical, but still, you know, flow with the whole aesthetic of the house. Now, coming into the rest of the house, we step into the kitchen from the mudroom and the sunroom. This is the only room in the house that we completely gutted down to bare bones and started over with. As you'll see from the before pictures, it was very dated, very dysfunctional. I had hardly any counter space. So, when I was pregnant with my second child, I told my husband we're redoing the kitchen and I'm gonna have a new kitchen for my second child. So we gutted the whole entire thing and started over. And this wall right here didn't even exist. It was just an open staircase going to the upstairs. But I knew if we wanted to utilize as much of the space as possible in the kitchen, we would have to wall it in. So I had my contractor completely put a whole new wall here, so that way we could put the stove and I could actually do a bar. This right here is kind of integral to the house. We were gonna knock it out, and then we discovered that ductwork for the upstairs AC is in there, so we had to keep it. So instead of, you know, it kind of just sticking out and looking odd, I decided to put a bar right here, so it kind of felt like it was done on purpose, even though it absolutely is not. But yeah, so I went with some white granite. It's a beautiful stone and perfect if you're kind of working on a budget. It's just not that expensive. The cabinets are actually from IKEA, and I highly recommend IKEA kitchen cabinets. They have held up wonderfully. I just love the look of an all white kitchen. We cook a lot. We eat almost every meal every week at home. So I wanted a space that felt just very clean and very classic. We're in here a lot, so I didn't want anything to feel fussy. I have this cute little cart over here that I made a little skirt for. It's just an inexpensive cart from Amazon, but it was a way that we could just put our microwave over here and it not take up extra counter space. I love using my fridge kind of like a pin board and just putting my girls' art. I love collecting antique photographs of people at restaurants. I don't know, it's just one of my things. And I just love displaying them all over my fridge. It makes the kitchen feel just very warm and inviting. I keep a stool over here for my girls. They just bring it over to the sink or over to the counter. So it just kind of stays here and floats around the kitchen whenever they need it. So some people aren't a fan of open shelving in kitchens. I think it seems quite intimidating. For me, I love it. And I'm like, that's why you have lower cabinetry, because you stuff all the ugly stuff in there, so then you can display all of your pretty stuff. These are just different ceramics I've collected from all kinds of different places. Because I went with just a soft white in the kitchen, it really was just my playground. I could go with any color palette that I wanted. So I love just very earthy, muted yellows and terracotta. I have those colors all throughout my house, but the white beadboard was just the perfect background to let some of my more special pieces just pop against. So as we come over here, I get a lot of questions about this plate rack situation. These are actually very inexpensive book ledges from Amazon that I ordered, and I had painted the same color of our trim. So it kind of just felt like that it went along with everything else. And it was a perfect way to get a plate rack feel without having a custom plate rack built. And I always keep a basket on the landing. So for just the random toys and socks and things that end up down here that need to be upstairs, they get put in that bag every day. I carry it up, distribute everything, and then bring it back down. This painting is Oliver. He is one of my favorite portraits that I have in the house. I found him from a local auction. I think I got him for $100 and something, very inexpensive. And then I had my handyman just put a sweet little sconce above so it could kind of shine down on him. And I love that when you walk in our kitchen, he's kind of the first thing you see. I've told people before that if you want a space to feel chic, having an antique portrait painting is kind of a cheat way to get all the way there. I just think they're so chic. And yeah, I love him. Now, as we go from the kitchen, we step into this sweet little dining nook area. We didn't really have a lot of room for an actual, huge dining table, but I found this one on Facebook Marketplace for $20. And again, painted it bone by Farrow and Ball. And then I painted a little vine detail around the edge of it just to give it some more character. I found the chairs also on Facebook Marketplace, and then I sewed all of these cushions from a gingham by Chelsea Textiles. I kind of decided to go ham with that pattern in my downstairs. I just love when people kind of pattern drench a room with one pattern. It just feels very custom, very bespoke. So that's what I did in the downstairs. And then we have an extra leaf for when we have friends over and we need to make things a little bit more spacious. I have an extra chair over there, and then I have just random chairs throughout the house that we just kind of pull up around the dining table if we have more people over. I love when people display ironstone collections all together, just like one big shelf of white. I think it has a dramatic effect while also, just having a subtle color palette. So there's a good balance of that. I painted the inside of this cabinet Pigeon by Farrow and Ball, and I just love how the white just pops against it. These are antique Russian herbariums that I found on Etsy years and years ago, and then I matted them against the leftover downstairs bathroom wallpaper that's by Colfax and Fowler, and just kind of bringing in more of the subtle yellow that's in the kitchen on into the dining area, so it just has a nice flow to it. So this light fixture was just an inexpensive find online, and I took the shades that came with it and covered it in a Nicholas Herbert fabric. I had enough left over from my headboard, and you'll see that later, but I had enough to redo these. And that's one thing I love, is that I've used all of these fabrics just throughout kind of every room in my house. So everything just feels really cohesive and nothing feels too out of place because I use a little bit of everything in every room. Now let's head over to the living area. I specifically decided against putting overhead lighting in this room. I wanted us to be reliant on all of the lamps and sconces and candles. I just wanted to create kind of a den cozy feeling. We have very low ceilings down here because it's halfway underground. It's almost sort of a basement, but it's not quite a basement. And so I really took a lot of inspiration from houses in the Cotswolds because a lot of them have very low ceilings. And again, I love British interior design. So I just wanted it to feel really cozy. I think Archibald, this painting, is really the main feature of this space. I found him from a local auction for next to nothing. And I just felt like he looked like an Archibald, so that's what I named him. And He's so big and so grand. I just wanted him to go in a space and just kind of be on his own. And I found these wall lamps on Marketplace as well. And then I did some pleated shades. I sell pleated shades in my shop. And again, did those in the gingham from Chelsea Textiles. This is an Our House sofa that I found on Marketplace for about $300. And we drove about an hour and a half one way for it, but it was absolutely worth it. I love having patterned couches when you have children. They just cover a multitude of sins. And so, again, did the gingham pillows. I love when pillows don't look too plush and like karate chopped and perfect. I like the cushions in our home to look like people have been lounging on them for a while. It just has a really relaxed feel. And then I had some of this rose tarlo left over from a project and just decided to do one big lumbar. This trunk I acquired from a local auction. I think it's 19th century. I love trunks as coffee tables. I have another one for my upstairs living room, but because my children are so little, I can't do super fancy styling. So I just like to kind of pile books and magazines, do a simple candle. So the fireplace, when we moved in, had just kind of simple, uglier vent covers right here on each of the vents. So I actually found these on Amazon, and I just painted them the same color that I painted the fireplace, which is our wall color. It's Lancaster White by Benjamin Moore. It's part of their Williamsburg line, which I'm quite fond of, just being here in Virginia. So I decided just to paint it all that one color, so it kind of blends in, but just doing that alone was enough of an update for the fireplace area. It just made it feel so much fresher. And this is a functional fireplace. We do use it in the winter, but until then, I found this little pillar candle situation at a thrift store for a few bucks. And so I just keep pillar candles on it and light them, and it feels nice and cozy like a fire. And then I just keep some sticks in an antique crock. I love collecting crocks. And then going from the living room, we head back to my office space. This was completely different when we first got the house. My husband actually built this built-in cabinet you see back here. Just followed some YouTube tutorials and he put it together, and he did a wonderful job. And I had my contractor put in a couple of sconces. I found this huge antique mirror on Marketplace for $50. And this is where I do all of my wrapping, all of my shipping and things. I keep a basket of art right here that's ready to be shipped. And yeah, just special things, my fabric samples. I have my pin board. And again, like this was a fabric scrap that I had left over that matches the one on the couch. So just bringing the same patterns. The fabric that's on the pin board was left over from the fabric that I covered our recliner in. So just bringing all of these colors and textures and patterns into every room, but still letting each room kind of have its own personality, depending on what I need from it. This desk is actually a 19th century library table. I found it on Marketplace, I think for around $100, and this was years ago. I've had this piece for quite a while. I actually painted it. I am a big fan of painting antique furniture, but you have to do it right, and you have to do the right color. No bright turquoise or bright pink or something. That should land people in jail. But I painted this nice soft blue. And then I found this is actually an outdoor chair I found at a local auction. Again, next to nothing. So my kind of go-to formula for styling shelves is always to start with books. And I take book styling very seriously. I have to have the perfect ratio of blues and browns and grays, any other colors. And I like to just get in a good headspace and just have fun with it. I like to just mix modern and old books. I love just the patina and the character that old books have. So I always start out with putting my books where I know they're going to go. So for instance, with these shelves, I have these beautiful antique wooden horse bookends. And so I know I wanted one right here and one on the opposite side. So I got my books in, and then I got my large pieces of pottery. I did those next. So just really start with your larger elements, and then I was able to add in smaller pieces just for visual interest and to make it look like it wasn't, just part of a staged home or a staged bookshelf, but make it look like, it's functional and I use it. I think definitely what gives a home soul and character and makes it just feel like a place that you can relax and really just enjoy life is really honing in on who you are as a person and what sparks joy within you. If you have children, if you have dogs, your family, like what does your family need out of this space? And you have to get down to brass tacks of like, okay, this is what we need out of this space, and this is how I'm going to accomplish it. And I think for me personally, of course, antiques are huge for me. I started my antique shop. I sell antiques on Instagram, Logan Taylor Antiques. And I started it in November 2023. I was 7 months pregnant with my second child. And my husband was like, are you sure about this? But really I just started it to kind of weed through my own personal collection because it had grown so much and I had become a bit of a hoarder. And so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna start selling some things to kind of, just thin out my personal collection. And it morphed into my full-time job now. It keeps me very busy. And as it grew and my page grew and my taste developed and I honed in on what my niche was and what I wanted to focus on, it just completely took off from there. So for me personally, antiques are a huge part of my life. It's my career. I'm not only just my career, but I'm so passionate about them. And there is a depth and character that antiques bring to a home that just cannot be replicated by any kind of big box store, no matter how hard they try. And so, I have two very small children, 1.5 and 3.5. And so I've found a really good balance in our home of catering to my aesthetic in this space, feeling like a representation of who I am as a woman, as a person, but also a place where my children can play and live and just enjoy their childhood and it not feel too stuffy and pretentious. It feels quite relaxed, and that's what I need out of a home. One of my favorite things to find and to source has to be portrait paintings. I have a collection of portrait paintings that I've just found at different places, mostly auctions. It's to the point where I have a portrait painting in almost every room of my house, and I give them names. So one comes to mind that is like trumps all of them, and that is Charlotte, who is hanging above the mantle in our upstairs living room. I found her from a local auction, and as I was flipping through everything, I saw her, and it was an instant soul connection. I knew for sure that she had to be in my home, and I knew exactly where she was going to go. Price didn't matter. Thankfully, the auction gods were on my side, and I was able to get her for around the price I wanted. But that's one instance of I've gotten very intuitive with my house. And I kind of know, because I deal with a lot of antiques, I know as soon as I look at something, when something's for me and when it belongs in my house. Now we're going to head upstairs. So as you come to the top of the stairs, you enter this sweet little hallway. I decided to actually color drench this in Farrow and Ball London clay. I wanted a nice rich brown. I kept it white for a long time because I think typically we think of small spaces and are like, oh, we need to keep them kind of light and bright, but I have learned my lesson, and when you have a very small space, sometimes to have the most dramatic effect, just color drench it. So I just love this. It's like just a pocket of cozy in the upstairs. I have this beautiful table I found from an antique store and just covered it in some Ballard Designs ticking stripe. I love making skirts for tables and just the warmth and character that it always gives. I keep a sweet little candle and just a lot of pictures of my family in some beautiful but inexpensive silver Amazon frames. So the main room off of the little upstairs hallway is the upstairs living area. And this is very much my space. I'm quite proud of this space. It's very, very curated. This is the painting, Charlotte, that I was talking about earlier. I knew as soon as I saw her that she was going to go here above the fireplace. And just the greens and the colors in this painting just completely flow with all of the other colors I knew that I was going to have in here. This fireplace actually did not come with the house. I found this 19th century mantle on Marketplace for like $150. And then I had my contractor build a brick insert and attach it to the wall. I just wanted it to feel like it had always been with the house, but it just wasn't functional, and he did just that. I'm very pleased with how it turned out. I found this brass fireplace insert. It's antique. I found it on Marketplace as well. So I just keep some candles in there, and then we light them in the evenings, and it just has the feel of a beautiful old fireplace that just isn't functional anymore. I covered these sconce shades in a ticking stripe by Chelsea Textiles that I've used kind of throughout the house. These 19th century chinoiserie plates I found at an antique mall, I think for like $60 for the whole set. I didn't have any kind of formula or rhyme or reason. I just kind of started with one and I would step back and eye things and just kind of wanted them to flow along the wall. And I love how it turned out. I have this set of chairs. They were made in Italy, and I found these two chairs and the little ottoman on Marketplace for $75. Painted them bone by Farrow and Ball and did my antiquing method, and then recovered them in a stripe by Chelsea Textiles. And that's one thing I love to do, is take antique furniture and then add a beautiful, clean, modern textile to it. It adds this perfect balance that just never fails me. This trunk I found on Marketplace as well. Me and the woman who sold it to me had to go into her basement for it and carry it up a flight of stairs. But I got it for like $90, so it was completely worth it. And again, I can't really style my coffee tables too much because of my littles, but nice just stacks of books, and I love having just, sweet little artistic elements that I love, and, just kind of putting them on display. This is an antique piece I got from a thrift store, I think for around $10. I found these silk drapes on Marketplace, and I think I got 6 panels for around $10 each, and I just love how soft they are, and I love the gold warm color. Over here is just a lot of my antique book collection. I love antique books and just the character they have. This is a 19th century wallpaper panel that someone just attached a piece of wallpaper to a piece of board, and I found it at a local auction and absolutely loved it. But yeah, I love putting my antique books out, and just a collection of jugs on the bottom. And I'm from the coast. I grew up on the Alabama, Mississippi coast, so I have little coastal elements throughout my house, but because of the color palette of my house, it doesn't feel too coastal or nautical because I have lots of earthy colors, but it's still just kind of a nod to where I grew up. So the chandelier in here was also another Marketplace find for I think $20 or $30, and I painted it and distressed it, made it look really old. My couch is actually from Facebook Marketplace. I paid $50 for it, and then I got all of this beautiful linen cotton blend fabric and I slip covered it myself. It was the first and last time I will ever slip cover a whole sofa. I don't even know how I did it. I've made all of the pillows in here from fabric samples just that I found on eBay, like little remnants of, Tebow and Lee Joffa, Colfax and Fowler. I always look for remnants of those fabrics on eBay, and they're the perfect size just to make throw pillows here and there. I like to change things up quite frequently, so being able to sew and make my own pillows and lampshades are a good way to give things just a fresh feel without having to spend a ton of money and change things around completely. So I love using round tables and making tablecloths for them. I made this tablecloth not too long ago out of the same Chelsea textile stripe that I covered the sconce shades with. Just have some family pictures on display, some of my absolute favorites. Several paintings that I've just found here and there from auctions, some maps. I have so much art that I'm kind of running out of wall space, so I like to even just lean some pieces against the floor if they go with the whole, collage that I have. And it's just kind of a more relaxed way to display art if you don't have enough wall space. Over here is one of my favorite Facebook marketplace finds to date. This is a 19th century cupboard, and I had been looking one exactly like this for months, and some people in Richmond put it on, and I think I may have paid maybe a little over $200 for it, and it wouldn't have mattered the drive. I made the drive by myself and they helped me load it up. But yeah, this is absolutely one of my favorite pieces in my house, and I just like to display my seashell collection with some beautiful blue and white chinoiserie from the 18th and 19th century. I think adding touches of blue and white throughout your house just really helps it feel fresh. I don't know. It just, wherever you put it, it just makes a space feel a little bit more alive. And so I have little touches of blue throughout my house. It's one of my favorite colors. I love using my collection of interior design books throughout my house. So I just like to stack them up and put pottery on top. This table, again, is one of my favorite marketplace finds. I paid $120 for this girl. Marble top. I had my contractor just secure to the wall, so we wouldn't have to worry about it with my girls. But just love kind of the drama of having collections and stacks of things. So I keep a magazine stack here, a couple of them. And then it's a nice kind of entryway feel. We don't really use this door a lot, but it's the perfect table for an entryway. And I put this antique gold mirror above it and just some candles. This is one of those spaces in the house that I just kind of change out a lot, just depending on my mood for the week. I put, a new vase of flowers, a new candle holder, and then these are just some candlesticks that I've popped little lampshades on. So my love for interior design, I can see now, started as a very, very, very young girl. My mother and I would constantly watch design shows on TLC, and I would go to my cousin's house and do gallery walls for them, and I would rearrange my room constantly. My mom never knew how my room was going to look as a child. And now that I'm older, and I'm in this field and I've been able to make it a career path, it's so clear to me now that this was in me the whole entire time, my whole life. I developed a love for thrifting from my grandmother. She would take me and my cousin thrifting every single weekend. And as a teenager, I started to fall in love with style and fashion from the 30s, 40s, 50s. And then as I've gotten older and my taste has developed and I've been exposed to more interior design and different antiques, my love now is 18th and 19th century, British, European antiques. And that's how I mostly decorate my house with, things in that time period that I find. I truly just want people to feel relaxed and to realize that you don't have to sacrifice style and aesthetic in the trenches of motherhood. I kind of want to show people that, and especially other mothers, that you can take a kind of average run-of-the-mill home and you can make it very special and you can make it very comfortable for a family with small children. It truly is all about balance. I don't, and you'll see in my daughter's room, like I don't make my children completely submit to my aesthetic in their life. But I've found a good balance of putting my touch and my whimsy, into their room, but letting them also have their Minnie and Mickey Mouse and things like that. And so I want to show people that, you don't have to sacrifice style in your home. And no one's house is perfect. My house, I've had the time and the childcare to get my house home-worthy ready, but it doesn't look like this on a daily, weekly, even monthly basis. And I just want to remind people of that. We play a comparison game a lot of times, especially in the interior design world. And as long as your home just brings you joy and your family joy, I mean, this is the place where you're going to be making the bulk of your memories. And you want to put the care and attention that warrants, So from the upstairs living area, we come into the master bedroom. This room I wanted to feel just very serene and spa-like. So this color is Pale Powder by Farrow and Ball. I've gotten so many questions about it. It is the perfect light blue for your home. It has a bit of warmth to it because of the green. It doesn't feel too gray or too cool. Truly, I could not be more pleased with this color. And again, just keeping the earthy tones throughout the house of just the natural woods and lots of white. As a mother, I love using linen in my house because it's never going to be completely ironed out and perfect. It just has this wrinkly nature. And so going with a linen duvet, a linen bed skirt, it just kind of takes pressure off of me for it to always look perfect because it never will. So over here is my little vanity desk area. I got this from a local auction and made a skirt for it in the Chelsea Textiles stripe that I have in the living room on the chairs. And this is just a display of some special art pieces that I found on eBay or from auctions, antique stores. I got this sweet little bamboo chair from our local auction house for next to nothing and found this Colfax and Fowler velvet on eBay and just reupholstered it, made a little pillow with some tassels. And this is a 19th century decoupage box that I actually just recently found. So I just keep some stationery in it, some sweet little pictures of my family. So our headboard I actually got from our local auction house, I think for $9. And I just bought this Nicholas Herbert fabric and recovered it. It's the same one that I used for the chandelier in the dining room downstairs. It's a great focal point when you walk in the room, but it's not overwhelming because the colors are so subtle. So it just blends really nicely with the rest of the room. These drapes are actually cotton IKEA drapes that I got years ago. I don't even know if they're sold anymore, but they're 100% cotton. And then I just added this velvet trim onto them just to give them some character and go with the other rich browns that I have in the room. So on the opposite end of the bed is my vanity area. I got this antique dresser on Marketplace as well. This piece of art my husband acquired when I was out of town one time. And that's all we're gonna say on that one. But I like just keeping my jewelry on pretty trays displayed, my perfume collection, a few little special pieces of art, and hanging my earrings on a little lamp. Just, it's really feminine and it's really sweet. So from the upstairs hallway, we walk into the guest room, which actually doubles as our baby room as well right now. I wanted this room to feel like a quaint little bed and breakfast in Virginia. And I feel like I've acquired that look. By far, the most questions I get about this room are the 4-poster bed. This was, again, a very lucky marketplace find. I think I got it for $150. And it is very special. It helped me get that, kind of just bed and breakfast, super quaint feel to the room. I put an antique coverlet that I found at an antique store. I made a bolster pillow out of a Les Indians dinner napkin. I just loved the pattern, and it went with the browns in the room. I tried several different yellows for this room. I knew I wanted it to be yellow, but it had to be a very specific yellow. It couldn't feel too canary-ish. So I tried several. And this is Woven Jacquard by Benjamin Moore. And when I tell you, it is the most divine, perfect yellow. It just has kind of that wheat tone. It's very grounded, always feels super cozy. It is just absolutely perfect. So this canopy I made out of the Chelsea textile stripe that I used in the previous 2 rooms. It's a very simple method of just using 2 curtain rods and just applying one to the ceiling and then one to the wall, and then you just drape it. But it has such a dramatic effect. It feels very luxurious, even though it costs next to nothing and you don't even really have to sew anything. This is an antique painting that I acquired from another Instagram seller, and I just hung it with some chain from the curtain rod that's holding the canopy. And it's just a different way to kind of hang art and display it. And then on each side, I have these 18th century botanicals that I actually had in my shop for a little bit, but they didn't sell, which was odd to me. And so whenever that happens, I always take it as a sign that I just need to keep something for myself. It just belongs in my house because things go pretty quickly. And yeah, after I put them up here, I was like, oh, wow, yeah, those are mine. I made these lampshades out of a leftover flat sheet that I had from a bed set, and so I love how cozy and cute they feel. I also love doing mixed matched nightstands in rooms, and so this one I found on Marketplace, the other one I got from an auction. This is also one of my favorite finds in my house. It was a Marketplace find. I drove a little ways for it, but one of those pieces, when I saw it, I knew I had to have it. And above it, I've toyed around with names for this painting. Haven't quite settled on one yet, but he was a local auction find. This is one of my favorite purchases from my friend. He's J. Patrick Newell on Instagram. He's an antique appraiser and dealer, and I love black lacquered chinoiserie pieces, and so I was able to score this tea caddy from him. Absolutely loved it. Kind of just wanted it to be center stage in here. And then just some pieces of pottery. And these candlesticks are actually anthropology. So I love kind of taking modern elements like that and just really mixing them with the rest of my house because it just helps things feel a little bit more fresh. So one of my favorite elements of the room is the herbarium wall. I found these inexpensive silver frames on Amazon and just decided to do the whole collection of them right in here. The tones of them went with the room. I kind of have a botanical feel to every room in my house, but these went very perfectly in here. The drapes in this room are actually linen flat sheets that I made into curtains. It's a very simple method that I have. I actually posted on my Instagram. And then I just have a antique dresser that I got from our local auction house, I think for like $83. I keep all of my fabric in here. And just some sweet little elements, an antique painting, a sweet little lamp that I made from a candlestick, and just some antique photos on top. So as I said before, this space doubles as our baby room. So we just have a little portable crib in here that my youngest sleeps in, and it's just, guest rooms are kind of that perfect room if you need a space for a youngest child to kind of sleep in, but she does most of her playing in the playroom in my daughter's room. So now we step into my 3-year-old's room. I wanted this room to feel very whimsical and very colorful. Again, like I don't make my children submit to every aspect of my aesthetic. So I wanted to keep this quite colorful for her. One of my favorite elements in this room is the zebra print rug. This was actually an eBay find. It was brand new, but I still found it on an eBay shop that sells brand new rugs, and I got it for a very good deal. This rocker I found on Marketplace and slip covered it myself. I always get a lot of questions about the drapes. These are actually Ralph Lauren flat sheets that I fell in love with the pattern, and I got 1 king sheet and it was enough to do 2 panels. So I just kind of draped them and let them fall, just do 1 panel per window. The tie backs are actually vintage tollware hooks that I just had installed sideways, so it would act like a little curtain tie back. Antique quilts all throughout the room that I inherited from my grandmother. She's a quilt collector, and so I have them sprinkled throughout this room because they were quite colorful. These are little watercolor teacup note cards that I found from a thrift store one time. And I had 9 of them, and I had plenty of this wallpaper left over from the downstairs bathroom. So I decided it'd be really fun to just bring that soft yellow of this little settee and use some old IKEA frames I had, and I'm painted on this random paint sample that I had that was like this pinkish red color. But they just turned out beautiful, and I just love when you first walk in the room, it's like, oh wow, it's a good focal point. This little settee is another Marketplace find, and it already had come slip covered and perfect, so it was just the perfect little couch from my daughter's room. This dresser is another Marketplace find. We have the tall version inside their closet with their clothes in it, but I painted it this just white color and kind of distressed it. This beautiful mirror is an antique store find, and then I made these lampshades out of some vintage fabric that I got from another interior designer. This sweet little wooden Noah's Ark set was given to me by a very dear friend of mine. She had it for her children, and it's made by a local artist. Just definitely one of those special pieces that I can keep passing down to my children and grandchildren one day. Again, just keeping the whimsical nature of the room. We have these big stuffed animals, and this is just a little inexpensive modern bed, but I've made several pillows to go on it and covered it with a fun patterned quilt. So it adds that custom feel to something that's just pretty modern and standard. And then did my canopy method again for behind her bed. Just got this fabric, a whole bolt of it from a thrift store for less than $10, and wanted to create a canopy for her, and then just displayed this antique needlepoint of a puppy and used the same fabric to hang it that I used for the lampshades and to recover her little rocking chair. I got these vintage metal sconces from a local auction, and they actually came in this pink color, and I didn't touch them. They were just perfect. And then I just put some fun little flowers on them, and I got these little shades and covered them in some antique red toile that I found on eBay. But yeah, they're another fun little element of the room that just adds a lot of whimsy. These are just inexpensive book ledges from Amazon, but I painted them a really fun green color. And I will say, like, that's one way to really make things feel custom, even if you get pieces from Amazon. Just to paint them a fun, like, faro and ball color, and it gives it a whole new life. But I have a local thrift store that has a wonderful book section, and so I always go in there and collect different fun little books. I specifically look for ones with really pretty covers, but this is part of the book collection. I have an antique basket down here with more books, and then there's more books over by the rocker, but doing books, and then some fairy lights and different little toys and elements that just add character to the room. This is a mobile I made from a vintage embroidery hoop, and an artist on Etsy, she's in England, her name is Elizabeth Harbour, and these are ornaments that she sells, and I got a few of them and just decided to hang them with some embroidery string and make a fun little mobile for the room. So the chandelier is actually another marketplace find, and I painted it this really sweet blue color. I actually think it's the same blue that I painted my downstairs desk for my office area. But instead of going with matching shades, I found all of these sweet little shades from an eBay shop for like $5 each. And they were all different. And I was like, you know what, that actually works for the baby room. Like, let's do a different shade for each light. And they all just go together, and it's just so fun and so perfect for a little girl's room. This is the place where the bulk of our memories are going to be made with our small children in this phase of life that we're in. You know, the world can seem like a very wild and crazy place. And so for me, my home is truly my sanctuary. It is the only place that I have complete control over, that I can make it exactly what I want it to be. It can be a complete reflection of who I am as a person. And I mean, if I just had one word to describe what I want my house to be, it would be a refuge, a sanctuary for my family, to feel peace, to feel calm, a place where they can feel nurtured. Thank you so much for stopping by, Homeworthy. It's been an absolute pleasure, but I have some art to ship, so I'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.